Divorce is no joke, which is probably why Lois is still with Peter. Welcome to Anime is Life, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 reasons why Lois Griffin should divorce Peter. At number 10, his drinking problem has made her codependent. Death has a shadow. One of Peter's most dominant traits is his drinking. He hangs out at the Drunken Clam with his friends all the time, and he works at a brewery. Peter has a very intimate relationship with alcohol. He frequently gets too drunk to function, and Lois has to take care of him. The very first episode of this show is based on Peter getting too drunk at a stag party after promising Lois that he won't drink. He even engages in the ever-so-clever drinking game, Drink the Beer. Peter never shows any serious signs of getting help for his drinking, or even just cutting back on it. 9. He turned his family into drug dealers. Farmer guy. These days, everyone needs a side hustle, but perhaps turning your family into drug dealers when your farming gig doesn't work out is not the best option. When crime rises in Quahog, Peter uproots his entire family with no warning and moves them to a farm to live the rural life. But life on the farm is not as easy as it seems. They discover a meth lab in the basement of the farm, and Peter convinces them to start dealing to earn money. Of course, eventually the Griffins give up the drug life and move back to Quahog. But things get a lot worse before they get better. Lois should have run and taken the kids with her. At number 8, he compared her body to aging, broken-down equipment. Lois comes out of her shell. Peter puts down Lois all the time, but this time, it seemed way more insensitive than his usual comments. First of all, it was her birthday. Secondly, it was during a surprise party in front of all her friends. And third, it was at a time when she was already feeling insecure about getting older. Way to kick her while she's down, Peter. Lois insults Peter all the time, too. But when he refers to her as a plow horse whose only use is menial labor and sex, can you really blame her? This speech sent her on a midlife crisis. As far as we're concerned, it should have sent her running for the hills. 7. He accidentally threw hot grease at her face. Petarded. Peter has gotten away with a lot of bad behavior due to his stupidity, but when he is deemed mentally challenged, he takes this to a whole other level. He takes full advantage of the situation by starting a Bible fight in church, barging into women's bathrooms, and causing trouble wherever he goes while blaming it on being mentally challenged. His worst offense is when he jumps behind the counter at a fast food restaurant and accidentally pours hot grease all over Lois, nearly killing her. This isn't even the only time Peter has almost killed Lois. But more on that later. 6. He brought plagues on his family. If I'm dying, I'm lying. One of Peter's most ridiculous offenses against his family happened quite early on in the show. In a Season 2 episode, Peter claims that Chris is deathly sick in order to get his favorite TV show back on the air, and then claims that he miraculously cured him. As if that weren't selfish enough, when his neighbors start praising him like a god after the supposed miracle, Peter revels in the attention. This leads to the plagues descending on his family. As Brian puts it, God is pissed. Despite everyone demanding he tell the truth, Peter refuses to until Chris almost dies. This probably should have been a massive red flag for Lois. 5. He's constantly committing crimes various episodes. Peter turning his family into drug dealers was pretty bad, but Lois probably didn't even find it that surprising, considering breaking the law is kind of his thing. Crimes Peter has committed range from minor offenses of robbery and breaking and entering to straight-up murder. There was the time he committed treason by creating his own country and going to war against the U.S. There was the murder of a completely innocent, hook-handed war hero and the manslaughter of his mom's best friend. Although in Peter's defense, that last one was an accident. 4. He forced her to gain so much weight that she had a heart attack, sibling rivalry. You might think that Peter, of all people, would be understanding when Lois started to gain weight, but you would be wrong. He ruthlessly insults her, at least until he discovers the wonders of fat sex. Then he encourages her to gain weight, which, if you can imagine, is even worse than him putting her down. He insists she get fatter and literally stuffs her face with cake. She gains so much weight that she has a heart attack and almost dies. But that does not stop Peter from having sex with her. And this is still only one of several times Lois has almost died by Peter's hand. 3. He's an abusive and neglectful father various episodes. If the way Peter treats Lois isn't enough to have her packing her bags, the way he treats their children probably should. We get it. A big part of the show's humor is how the ridiculous and dysfunctional Griffins interact with one another, but the way Peter treats his children is just appalling. He frequently makes Chris feel insecure about himself. He got Stewie hooked on steroids that one time. And of course, there was the time he threw an unconscious, severely injured Stewie underneath the wheels of Lois's car, so she would think that she was the one who injured him. And he hits Meg with a baseball bat. Did we say more? 2. He tried to shoot her family boy. After finding out that Lois is Jewish, Peter tries to shoot her. So he's not only guilty of attempted murder of his own wife, but also an anti-Semitic hate crime. Now that's a loving husband, right? Yeesh. As Lois is walking out to the mailbox to get the mail, Peter watches her through the scope of a rifle and takes a shot at her. Lois freaks out, as you might expect, but Peter is so nonchalant about the whole thing. Seriously, how many times does Peter have to try to kill Lois before she calls it quits? Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable, or in this case, dishonorable mentions. He wastes their money, the Cleveland Loretta Quagmire. He's admitted to disliking his kids, April and Quahaw. 1. He tried to drown her. The courtship of Stewie's father. That's right, yet another near murder. Maybe Lois should take solace in that Peter was trying to connect more with Stewie when they almost killed him. After realizing that the only thing they have in common is that they find Lois's pain funny, Peter and Stewie go on a rampage, using her. They smash a jar of pickles on her head, assault her with a spraying garden hose, trap her in the trunk of the car, and sink her in a lake. Just some good old father-son bonding. Here is a continuation. Another top 5 times Peter Griffin had to divorce. Lois takes the phrase presidential affair to a whole new level when she hooks up with Bill Clinton. Yep, that episode from season 5. A certain former U.S. president swings by Quahaw for reasons that are suspect. Anyway, Bill's limo randomly breaks down right in front of the Griffin house. His security team asks Peter for help, and the next thing you know, Peter and Bill are besties. Classic. Only problem? Bill's influence on Peter is less than ideal. Relax, vegans. They don't need it. They steal it. So, better? Now you're probably wondering where Lois comes into this chaos. Well, she finds Peter looking rough the next day and is rightfully mad about the pig. So she storms over to Bill's hotel room to give him a piece of her mind for corrupting her sweet idiot of a husband. Huge mistake. Just as Lois realizes she messed up, Peter walks in. And yeah, he literally catches them in bed. It takes him a moment to process the betrayal, but once he does, Lois starts groveling. She even tells Peter he can sleep with anyone he wants to even the score. Guess who he picks? And yeah, Peter almost goes through with it, but plot twist. He ends up getting seduced by Bill Clinton too. Seriously. Coming in hot at number 4, Lois makes the completely deranged decision to hit on Meg's boyfriend. Yeah, you heard that right. Meg has a boyfriend. But surprise, Anthony's real, and not just real, but normal. Peter and Lois are pumped that Meg finally landed a decent guy, until Anthony throws some casual, flirty charm at Lois. That one innocent comment sends Lois spiraling. She starts acting creepy real fast. And no, she's not drunk. That's sober Lois. She completely forgets or ignores the part where Anthony's underage and starts fantasizing about him. Not cool. It escalates when she pulls this move. Yeah, that happened. Lois literally kicks Meg out of the house just so she can tell Anthony how she feels. Gross, right? Oh, but don't worry. Meg comes back, early, catches it all. Lois tries to make it up to Meg, but the real kicker is when she tells Peter what happened. And instead of flipping out, Peter apologizes to Lois for making her feel old. Like, what? Peter, buddy, grow a spine. This one should have ended in something that rhymes with schmorse. Next up at number 3. Lois loses it at the first sight of a poker machine. This one starts off with Chris getting booted from the Boy Scouts, because apparently launching your troop leader into oncoming traffic gets you kicked out. Who knew? Peter, not one to take no for an answer, drags the family to New York to appeal the decision. But of course, nothing goes as planned. Why? Right. Super logical. Then things go from bad to bowel-shakingly worse. Turns out Peter drank a prune smoothie before the trip. He makes a run for it, leaving Lois unattended in a casino. Big mistake, because a poker machine catches her eye, and she's hooked. Peter literally has to drag her away, but not before she gambles away the family car. So naturally, Peter has to pretend to be a Native American and complete some bizarre rite of passage in the woods just to win the car back, which somehow works. But real talk, this whole thing is one giant red flag. How their marriage survived this is beyond me. At number 2, Lois reads one book about minimalism and goes full maniac. She stumbles upon Tricia Takanawa's new bestseller, Throw It Away, The Life-Improving Art of Decluttering. And that's all it takes. Lois is hooked. And when she hears that the key is to keep only what sparks joy, she takes that to mean throw away everything. And I mean everything. She throws out Peter. She throws out the kids. Eventually, she throws out herself. Peter and the fam come home to an empty house and a goodbye note. Lois? She's floating away on a literal garbage barge. But don't worry, she gets rescued. A poetic ending, sure. But Peter, run. And finally, at number 1, the time Lois's midlife crisis drove her to crush on Justin Bieber. Yeah, that happened. It all starts with Lois feeling down about her birthday. Peter doesn't help. Thanks for the support, Peter. Brian, trying to be helpful, throws her a surprise party. It's going well, until Peter reads a poem about Lois getting old. By the end, she looks like she wants to walk into traffic. So what does Lois do? Take some time to reflect? Nope. She disappears and reemerges looking way younger. Mentally, anyway. She gets wind that Justin Bieber is in town and decides to full-on fangirl. Her family sees her on live TV, acting like a total lunatic. And yeah, she doesn't stop at just being there. She sneaks into his green room, bribes the guard with ice cream, and tries to hook up with Bieber. Yep, she says that. Peter shows up just in time to shut it all down, gives Bieber a solid beatdown, and has a heart-to-heart with Lois where they both cry about getting older. But seriously, if that wasn't the final straw, what would be?